All right.
Recording in progress. Needs reported. Got it.
Cool. Yeah.
Right.
I didn't really have anything planned. I just, because I knew that this could go one of two ways. Either we go crypto or we go non-crypto. And if we go crypto, it's just, I mean, I think either way it's just gonna unfold on its own. But I'll leave that up to you. Because I feel like, I don't know about you, but my life is most predominantly, it's German and crypto right now.
Well, I suggest that we could just pick a topic and then we can go wherever you want from that. Maybe we can get carried away. You never know. But first of all, let's introduce ourselves, because you never know. Someone might.
No one's gonna see. I mean, okay, fine. Introduce. I mean, okay. If you had to, it's really hard to do. But I mean, like, how would you? I don't know, in a sentence or two, how would you summarize yourself?
Okay, I'm a 33-year-old medical student in a small town in Czech Republic, who decided to do medicine a bit later in life for my own reasons, and I really enjoy the process right now, but it's very exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've spoken obviously through the years, but I think we started speaking more in like last year because of crypto, right? That's when we started like speaking frequently, like regularly.
That's true. Even though I have to say that quite a lot of times I went to ask something medical related, I was asking you because you knew quite a lot. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it started as a crypto thing, and we have some common interests, like, for example, certain podcasts or let's say gymming. We have some common interests, I'm not gonna lie.
If you had to, right now, as of the 3rd of February, 2022, what percentage of your life would you say is crypto? Like, well, how much do you think about it? How much do you, because I think it's a bit less now than before, or maybe I'm wrong.
You're not wrong, but that's the reason is not crypto itself, is that I'm in 6th year, and right now I really want to finish with my main goal. Crypto is a side thing in our life, I think, in both of us. Crypto for me, it was mainly a way, let's say, that to learn more about finance, to understand a bit about a new technology. I don't want to be left behind when it comes to new, important, major things. Because I started reading about crypto and I always wondered, what is this thing, right? I want to know. I'm curious by nature. But unfortunately, right now, I really have to focus on my state examination. So you do understand how it goes. But I still check, unfortunately, Binance every single day, and I'm getting some news that are worrying me. I'm checking the new airdrops and all of those stuff. But yeah, I'm not spending more than, let's say, 20 minutes per day, maximum like 15.
That's very healthy, because I find myself slipping in and out, because I know what's healthy. I know how much time I should spend so that it is healthy, that I'm using it productively. But I know when I slip above that, when I start looking at triangles and charts, I know it's just downhill, right? I know the amount of time I should be spending and I should not be spending. In the last 2 days, I've been spending more time than I should. So today I've reeled it back again. So I'm not checking anymore and stuff. It just waves. Like crypto, it goes in waves, But wait, so I remember this clearly. This was April of last year. I was talking to Mohit at a mutual friend of ours, and I was talking to him at the hospital. It was me, Mohit, and Gonzalo. Obviously, I've heard of crypto before. I've heard of Bitcoin. I've heard of all these things before. I thought it was like, I had no idea what this meant. I had no background in stock or investing, nothing. I know nothing. And Mohit was telling me about crypto, and he's like, "Oh man, what do you think about crypto? Do you think it's like he's bullish on crypto?" I didn't even know what bullish meant, right? So I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I got back home, and the same day, I think you texted me about some crypto news, and I was like, I didn't understand what you were saying because this was all so alien to me. So I said, what do you mean? And then you're like, oh, wait, you don't know about, like, you're not in the crypto game. And I was like, Mohit told me about it today. And then now you text me about it. So this was when the prices were going crazy. So this was April 2021, Bitcoin at its peak. And, everyone's buzzing and the altcoins are going crazy. And then long story short, I downloaded Binance the same day and I bought my first crypto that day, 24th of April, right? But you said you got in 2 months before I did.
More or less.
How did you get in? What was your initiation?
First of all, it was a friend of mine as well who talked to me about crypto and how he makes money with crypto, and asked, what is crypto? And he was unable to explain, to be fair. I'm not going to lie to you. He wasn't able to tell me what exactly is crypto. And I wasn't able to understand myself exactly what is crypto until maybe 4 or 5 months into this whole game. Well, he told me that his friend also, because this goes like this, it's a friend who tells to a friend and another friend and a very distant relative that is a cousin of this weird friend. Anyways, you
All right,
understand what I'm
sorry to
saying.
interrupt you, but that sounds a lot like a pyramid scheme. What you're describing sounds very much like a pyramid scheme. It's very
Well,
pyramid
I hate to tell you, but I still haven't managed to convince myself it's not one. and yet I'm still here. But he told me about this thing that sounds like a Ponzi scheme. Yes, indeed. I didn't know what a Ponzi scheme is back then.
Mhm.
I like the idea of crypto. And he told me, oh, you should get Cardano. I said, what is Cardano? I have no idea. He told me, but it seems cool, right? So I started finding a lot of information. Information came from all over the places. And I think that when you're in a medical school and you are very used to this information, you're information junkie, basically, you kind of like this. And it's also a bit of a getaway for me. It changed a bit of scenery, if you get what I mean. And I knew that always myself, I was very bad in finance. And I know that you can't escape that. It's part of your life, no matter how good you are. And I'm not going to lie that my parents had a bit of a tough time when they decided to invest in something. It's all very important, but it didn't go well. And now I see that if you had some basic knowledge of finance as general, of economics, let's say, you would be able to foresee a bad event. Like what's happening now, for example, with the major inflation, that inflation is like what, 7.6% right now that we're talking, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years. But when you know that it's such a high inflation, I think that, let's say, things may go downhill pretty fast. So back then, something like this was happening in Greece. My parents didn't know because they weren't very good in economics. So I know that I had somehow to find an incentive to learn more about finance, and it was crypto.
Did you have any background in the stock market or any type of other asset class before you got into crypto?
No, it was the first one. It was the first one because I never saw myself as having excessive money so I could invest. You know, my whole life was like, I have this amount of money, I'm going to spend it, I'm just going to do it. No, that's it.
That's what they say, right? The people that have a lot of money, they invest first and then they spend. But then the people that don't really have a lot of money, they spend first, and with the rest of the money they invest. That's basically that's
Pretty
kind of,
much.
but you can kind of define yourself in that way, even when you don't have money. If you think, okay, I'm setting myself up to create more money first, and then with what I have left, I spend. That's a good mentality to have. Would you agree or no?
I agree. And I think I found out about this mentality a bit later in life. My mom always said something, which I'm not going to lie, that I like this idea of you shouldn't withhold. You should always enjoy your life, even that means spending a bit more money, because you never know what's going to happen next day. And in my opinion, it's a very good way of thinking, but at the same time, you should be careful.
Yeah.
You should do both, in my opinion. What you just said and what my mom says. Never become this person that is miserable because they don't want to spend and they want to accumulate money and become Scrooge McDuck, you know.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you shouldn't just spend everything and always rely on luck or someone else lending you money because something difficult may arise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Because like just in terms of a basic education on how assets work and how investing works, because I don't know how it was in, like, you did your schooling in Greece, right? Your high school and everything, and I did mine in Dubai, and then in an Indian curriculum. In neither case was it made clear or like even introduced basic economics and how investing assets, how people a lot of people make their living based on trading and investing, and the revenue being made out of revenue. You know what I mean? Capital being made
Mhm,
from capital. And this
mhm.
concept, for me personally, the most attractive thing, obviously the technology was really interesting. And like you said, I didn't want to get left behind when tech grows and the adoption curve is so steep. when that adoption begins, it's so steep how it just takes off. It becomes inevitable really quickly, and then you just get left behind. And I didn't want to be in that situation. I didn't want to be the old person that my kids were, everything is on the blockchain, and I didn't want to be the dad that didn't get it, you know? But also the most interesting thing to me about crypto was the fact, firstly, the concept of passive income, and the fact that you didn't have to rely on your job to survive. So you don't need to rely on a monthly income to survive. That came from your job. You can work as a passion, or if you want to work for extra money, that's great. But even if you lose your job, you don't need to rely on that job to make money, especially with COVID and how everything just shut down. It became really relevant really quickly. And that's what got me really interested in crypto. Was your interest towards crypto more financial or tech oriented?
Well, it's a bit of both, and I'm going to tell you why. One of the things I've noticed lately is that how the whole economy is shifting into a more, say, dependent relationship between an employee and an employer. And most of the people right now, they're living on a wage that barely makes their monthly expenses. So I see that this is only getting worse. I don't know if it's just me but I think this is where we're heading as a society. We're heading to more month-to-month survival mode. And I don't want that, even though I know that we are going to become doctors, and most probably that won't be the major issue, but you never know what's going to change, right? You never know, because if you think about it, even the medical training is becoming more specialized. And if you see, for example, doctors, medical students in UK, they are getting over specialized in treating patients, but more of how to talk to them, not so much the general science. So they become more of executive or instruments of a big machine that everything has, that has everything well, let's say, grouped and organized. And the only thing they have to do is be executive organs. So I see that this is becoming a thing everywhere. Everyone is going to be a simple cogwheel of the big machine, and they're going to rely month to month to some month-to-month wage. And I really don't want that, because you never know if it's going to happen to us as well eventually. So I thought that it may be an alternative. Mm-hmm. And also, doctors tend to be over-specialized, and they tend to be very bad with economics, with finance. Okay. And I don't want that, because let's be honest, in order to be good in what you do, you have to spend a lot of time into that specific thing. And medicine is vast, it's endless.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so the other thing is, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead, finish your thought.
No, the second part I was going to tell you is the tech part. Yeah. Was truly incredible, because if someone doesn't know how blockchain works, if we were to simply explain, I don't know if you want to go through this in case someone.
No, go for it. If you can break it down simply.
I can actually, I think yes, but let's say that you have a currency and you want to make a transaction. This transaction has to go through some computer that's going to validate it and encrypt it. This validation, this transaction is going to be placed into a blockchain. So it's going to be a long, let's say, very long password. I'm going to simplify it as a very, very long password that is going to be placed on a blockchain. Another transaction is going to keep building it until the whole blockchain is being built. Now, the next blockchain is going to have information from the previous blockchain and the new transactions, essentially meaning that in order to change any of the previous ones, you have to change all of them, because the blockchains exist in every single validating computer. And if you truly understand this, it means that it's impossible to break and alter the history of the transactions, which is a unique, it's an amazing concept, right? Mm-hmm. So what I said, of course, means that you need to have some knowledge of how the blockchain works, because I broke it down to very, very simple, very simply how it works. But when I first realized this concept, I said, this is absolutely genius. This is incredible.
But it's crazy how long the concept has been around for, right? Like I was looking at these lecture recordings from many, many years ago, before even this whole boom started. You know, of course, Bitcoin originated a long time ago, like 2008, 9 or something like that. But then the concept of blockchain has been around for longer than that. But then it never, if it was such revolutionary technology, like if it was just the concept of putting something into a block and linking the blocks in a chain was so revolutionary, I wonder why it never caught so much traction back in the day? Do you think it's because technology was too young, too immature to adopt it, to actually bring it to the real world in terms of utility, or why do you think it took so long?
Well, I can name a few reasons for that. First of all, it was quite complex back then. Even now, it's complex if you think about it. The new generation is generally better with technology and it's easier for them. But back then, we still had to do with the boomers. And the boomers, they already had their income. They weren't so interested into getting something new. And it's something new that it was already complex. And secondly, the economy was quite stable. You only seek for something better if you are unsure, unsafe.
Yep.
You want an alternative. And thirdly, that I think we're both young back then, and our main, let's say, the main focus was something different than that, not investing in something.
I was 12 years old in 2008.
Exactly. I mean, back then,
no, 11 maybe.
even I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Even for me, it was quite new. I barely understood these things. I had no idea of finance, so it was difficult. But I think that's the main reason. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. The recession, the not the recession, but the 2008 crash, the financial market crash, sort of kind of led to the creation of Bitcoin and also the adoption, the adoption spark for Bitcoin. I mean, if something like Bitcoin was created in 2006, maybe people would not have adopted it, or it didn't have a reason to exist, like you said, because everything was fine. You don't really poke holes in the system if the system's working fine. But
exactly.
But also just think about 2008. I can't remember how 2008 was because I was so young, and you as well. But in the internet, web 1 was what came out 1994, something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, so let's say, yeah, around that time. I think it's right before I was born, so before 1997. I think 1994 or 5. And so it had been what, 12 years since the inception of the internet, and people still didn't know how to use it. I remember, like, back home we still had the dial-up connections, so you had to plug in the wires and all these things. So the concept of blockchain, I think it was the idea, it existed, and it was as revolutionary as it is now. It's always been, but there was no way to really utilize it till now. And now all these new proof of consensus mechanism, the consensus mechanisms like proof of stake and all these things became possible because of the technology. And now it's just kind of is the next wave of the internet, right? The Web3 wave, the decentralized wave. So maybe it's the right place, right time, right now.
I think there is one more reason that we're living outside. It's also very important to mention, is the privacy that we, as the years pass by, we're losing more and more of our privacy. Yeah. And the applications are becoming more intrusive and invasive, and they're collecting information. And what happened, for example, with Facebook, how they ended up in court and proved that all of the information have been gathered and sold to advertising agencies. So this is something, even the whole scandal with the CIA collecting information that apparently was one of the real conspiracy theories that we have to mention here. All of these led to people becoming conscious about their own privacy.
Yeah.
And maybe that's another incentive for people to look for an alternative for their money as well, because money is security as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. And do you think we're early now? Like, as of 2022, we've both been in the market. Like, for you, it's been exactly a year now, I would say, right?
Oh, I should celebrate. I don't know, buy some more Shiba Inu.
And yeah, but so what do you think? How do you think you've maybe changed for the best, for the better, or for worse in that 1 year you spent in the market, like in the financial part of crypto, but also in the learning and the tech part of crypto and everything? What do you think what's your net output from this 1 year?
Oh, that's a very difficult question to answer.
Besides losing all your money, of course.
Sorry, go again.
Besides losing all your money, I mean, just
not just yet. Okay, I still have some money. By the way, this is a very important thing. Before I answer to your question, I'm going to say that the money that you get into the crypto world, the amount of money, I mean, it's a very important thing. You should put enough money in to care about losing them, but not enough, but not too much.
Yeah.
So if you lose them, you're gonna, financially never recover from that. So I for me at least, it was enough money to care, first of all, meaning that I was curious about the different changes happening, and that led me to understanding that there is a technical aspect of it that has no value right now, which I thought it had some value back then. But the main idea is the fundamentals for me, that understanding how the world affects the economy, and the economy affects the actual stock market, and the stock market will affect the crypto. So that made me understand how the value of money is directly connected to everything that is going on politically and in the whole world. And when I saw, for example, that the big investment European banks are buying cryptocurrencies, that kind of rang a bell that something is going on here. So that was the basic that kind of hint me that, oh, okay, I need to know more about it. I need to understand more about what is happening. So yes, I spent some more time then on this amazing website, the explaining all of the different terminologies. And then I kind of got lost into this. But I still learned a lot. I learned how finance works. I learned how dollar lost its value, for example, when it got completely detached from gold, the USD from gold, and what that exactly means. So I collect all of these pieces of information, and through these 12 months, I started connecting them, and I realized that I know nothing. That's great, because this is a great step into realizing.
Powerful to know, yeah.
That's exactly that. I know nothing, but I still know enough to understand that I should keep learning, which is the most important thing for me.
Yeah, you just have to accept that what they I don't want to say they in terms of like conspiracy theory, but what if you just go with the flow in society, and you kind of just reach a point where you're like, wait, no one told me that this was important, but now I'm in a situation where it's vital for me to know this, and I never did. I never bothered to learn. I never bothered to put in the years into it. But now you're telling me that I have to know it if I want to survive. That seems unfair, It's like someone should have told me. Basically, I felt kind of cheated when I got into this, because I was like, why wasn't I taught this in school? Like, this feels like relevant information that I need to know. So it was kind of like there was kind of a feeling of I needed to avenge how many years I lost not learning these things by just kind of learning as much as I possibly can, right? But yeah, for sure, I totally agree with you. But I just wanted to ask you, like, I touched base with a few of my other friends that got into crypto around the same time, and just to kind of look back at it in maybe 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, who knows, where we are in the market right now, and where you think things are going to go. Just it's not a prediction per se, but where would you, if you had to put your money on it, where do you think what's going to happen?
I think that cryptocurrencies gain a lot of attention that they shouldn't have. That's how we got into cryptocurrencies. That's when we saw the big rise, that it was not scheduled, in my opinion, and they somehow had to shake off all of this attention, because attention at this point is not good. In my opinion, cryptocurrency have a place. It has a place in this world. It's immature. It's in let's say in embryonic stage yet still, but as a technology, it definitely has a place. So when it attracted that much attention in like last year, fortunately this period, and we saw this huge rise, and the peak that after that followed the absolute catastrophe that we all lost a few years of our lives. In my opinion, that was a good thing. And now I see why it shouldn't be like this. People shouldn't become millionaires by buying Dogecoin. It really shouldn't be like this, because you gain some money, someone else loses money, and this is a bad balance, and people don't realize this. But right now, I think we are in a period that it has to calm down. This kind of say bad the period of too much advertisement and too much attention has to calm down, and people, whoever is not sure about this, should just let it go. And I saw also all of these exchange agencies like Binance, for example, giving the leverages, and they are exploiting people, which is also not a good thing because they're lying. And I think that people don't realize how dangerous this is also, because they're becoming bankrupt out of nothing, out of a very volatile market that, again, some people are manipulating, because this is manipulated. So yes, I think it's a good thing. I think it should calm down. Bitcoin should lose some value, and after a while and slowly start growing again as it should.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Do you subscribe to the whole cycle theory? Like, I mean, clearly the past two cycles have been very defined. There's been a bull run and a bear market, like a bull market and a bear market. It's been very defined the last two times, but it was very immature, and the money in the market was also very much dumb money. It wasn't as much money, first of all, but like multiples less, and also it was dumb money. It wasn't smart investors like, and now these exchanges are superpowers. They're buying stadiums, they're renaming things. I saw a huge crypto.com poster in Prague. This crypto is everywhere. So do you think that this is the cycle where we've kind of separated from, because we've had giant 60% corrections twice now in the cycle, in this bull market, right? We've had a run up and we've had a 60% correction. Do you think we're going to get, in this cycle, we're going to get a proper bear market where the price crashes and stays low for till the next halving? Or do you think we're just going to go through these ups and 60%, ups and 60% for the foreseeable?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the knowledge to assess that.
In
the
your
only thing
nothing. I just want to look back at this in 5 years and see where our mindset was right now with the information we have. Because just before you answer, because I've heard all these stories from people who've experienced the previous cycles. I've heard them say the narrative was the same. It was on TV. Everyone was talking about it. I never thought this crash would come, blah, blah, blah. So I just don't want to, I want to record our mindsets now. So the next time, in case there is another cycle, defined cycle, we don't fall into the trap, you know?
Fair enough. First of all, I need to mention some very basic things here. That first of all, Bitcoin goes like 3.5 years into halving. So this is something we cannot avoid, right? Meaning that every time someone is mining, that it's going to be even harder to mine Bitcoin. So that means there is scarcity, and scarcity will bring higher prices eventually, even though this comes with an up and down. So this is something which is unavoidable, a halving. So we can avoid it. So this creates a cycle by itself, in my opinion. Secondly, the ups and downs, which are manipulated ups and downs to shake off all of the leverages and all of the people who make the easy money. This is something that, yeah, sure, can happen once, twice, because someone might think, okay, this is the last shake off, and go again and do the same thing. And again, fall in the same trap. That may happen again and again and again, because someone can see how many leverages there are there. We can't. So this is another thing, that whoever is manipulating the market can do the shake-offs again and again. So it is possible to see another shake-off.
But do you think it's going to be shake-offs like we've experienced in the cycle so far, like 50%, or do you think we'll get a bear market, like an 80%?
I think it is possible to see the shake-offs, because I think that Bitcoin has been accumulated into the hands of a few people. So it's easy to create shake-offs.
So, but is there going to be a bear market or no bear market? That's what I've just been kind of.
Okay, I'm going to say right now, no, I don't think it's going to be a bear market, because so we have to continue.
We're just going to have these periods, like maybe 3 months of accumulation, yes, like a 60% drawdown, and then back up another 60, 70%, and then back down.
Pretty much.
Consistently, just maybe till the next halving.
Maybe because I think that Bitcoin has to continue, has to keep expanding, and bear market right now, it may fit, it may not fit, but we have a target, and we haven't reached this target yet. So I feel like we should go for this target, the 200,000 target that we keep talking about first, and then we talk about bear market. That's my opinion, and I hope I'm right. Right now, I don't care so much.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't know. I don't know really, but I think we've seen enough to say that this cycle has been different from the previous ones. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, in terms of duration of each period, we've had drawdowns before, apparently. Like, I haven't experienced the previous cycles, but from looking at the charts, we've dropped 40% before, but it's usually been in like one candle or two candles before the next run up. But now we're seeing weeks of drawdowns and then weeks of accumulation and then weeks of upwards action. So it's very sustained, allowing whales to accumulate before the movement up. It's very different, I feel like. So maybe we do keep doing this till 200, 300K, the Fibonacci levels or whatever, and then we have a much larger correction. But if it's a correction from 200K, then the bear market will be what, 100K, 50, 60K?
That's what I think, like maybe around 70, 80K, something like this. I mean, we'll have to check the Fibonacci ratios again to see what it's going to be at which level. Yeah, quite possible.
So what's your, at this point, what is your investment thesis? What are you looking to trade this volatility? Do you have some fixed exit, like profit targets that you will just exit and wait for the bear market? Or
right now I'm playing risky because I don't have enough money inside, and we both play with XRP, and I'm using the word play because it is kind of gambling right now. It's one of the most volatile and unpredictable, even though we feel that it's going to be a settlement, but that's all. It's a feel, right? You don't know what's going to happen. But I want to risk before I get in with a lot of money, which I'm going to do in the future. Once I have a proper income. But right now, I don't have a lot of money in crypto, so I want to risk. I want to lose. I want to risk. I want to learn. That's the first stage.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, let's say you lose your money if you sell at the loss, right? If you realize your loss, you lose the money, that it's not coming back. Then you have to make it back with trades or putting more money in, blah, blah, blah. But let's say we're both heavily in XRP at the moment, hoping for a positive, because it doesn't have to be a settlement. It could be a resolution, whatever. But the thing is, if the case goes south, this is a very pivotal case in all of crypto, because it's basically trying to define whether a crypto asset is a security or a commodity or an asset, just an asset class, right? It's very pivotal what happens.
Well, essentially that they're trying to make all three of them one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem, I think, here.
And I think it's very obvious to anyone that puts in a little bit of effort into researching what's going on. I think it's definitely not a security, but at the very least, it wasn't clear that it was a security at the time of issuance. So the case, the company had not gotten a clear notice to say you are not allowed to trade this because there's no clarity in regulation. So that's at the very least understood. So in a normal situation, in an unmanipulated situation, the case should resolve with clarity that XRP is not a security, all crypto assets are not securities, and it can continue to exist in an asset market. But if the case goes south, then all of crypto is in big trouble in the US.
That's true. That's true. And this is a risk we are willing to take right now. I don't know, honestly. I really lack a lot of knowledge in this field. But if it was to go south, I think it would have happened by now.
Okay, let me ask you this then, because I asked my other friend this as well. What do you think? Like, obviously you can tell yourself that, okay, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to see it when it comes, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you have some hopes and dreams and predictions of how much money do you think you're going to trade out of when you make the XRP trade, let's say. And a timeline, let's say 2022,
realistically,
let's say you've traded XRP, let's say you've sold out of XRP. What is your goal? How much do you want to make at least? Because you've gone through the trouble of being in the market for a year.
I believe that the 3 times my investment would be ideal.
Okay, so that's your minimum take profit, 3x.
Yes, 3x.
Okay. How likely do you think that'll happen in 2022?
I honestly have no idea. I have no idea.
No, yeah.
No idea.
I mean, I don't know. I don't mind saying that.
I'm going to say that I don't think it will happen.
You don't think it'll happen in 2022?
No.
Wow.
I think it's just going to keep postponing again and again and again.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, the lawsuit doesn't matter. The price moves without the lawsuit. So you can also trade before the lawsuit ends if you want. Let's say.
That's true.
Because it went from 50 cents to $2 during the lawsuit. Like XRP just moved up in a span of 10 days to $2 before that, this prolonged multiple.
Well, at that point, I would check, let's say, what caused this movement. I would check where is the next Fibonacci level. I would just observe at that point, what is the next resistance? And most probably I would sell a take profit. and observe what is happening in the market. That's my approach.
I think if you're willing to take profit despite the lawsuit not being settled, I think you can do that. I think you can like get a 2x, 3x.
Sure.
No?
And most probably I would get in again.
Yeah, exactly. So you wait for the crash, the inevitable crash, and then you get back in because the case will never solve. So as long as you get back in by the end of the year, you'll still be in
This
the
is
game.
possible.
Okay, so cool. So yeah, it'll be fun to look back at this in 2023 and see where our kind of
yes, that will be actually very interesting. But I'm not very optimistic about the whole thing lately.
Okay. What about Bitcoin? Do you think where do you think Bitcoin's going to be in 2023? Do you think the interest will be just as high as it is now, or do you think people will kind of
Well, the whole question about Bitcoin is if the flipping is going to happen or not. If there is going to be another coin that is going to take its power, and Bitcoin will stop dominating the market, and every up and down of the Bitcoin will stop affecting the market. This won't happen for me again, at least for the next 4 or 5 years, at least. I don't think Bitcoin is still the king. And maybe because the economy is going for a recession, a lot of things are happening in Europe as well now with the Ukraine. Maybe you have to mention that as well. So things are a bit unstable. And when things are unstable, people are not investing so much, right, in such a volatile commodity. Also, they will invest in land or something else, something they can actually see. And this is another problem. Like, you cannot see cryptocurrencies. You don't know what they are. Like, it's just it's a digital asset. This is the problem.
That's another one of the things that got me into the whole crypto space, is because everything we do in life is turning digital slowly but surely. You can fight it if you want, but you can't stop it. It's just happening because we're designed to move towards convenience and luxury, and everything becomes accessible, especially accessible within the confines of your own home. You don't have to go somewhere to do it. So everything is digital. So it's only natural that assets become digital, money becomes digital, and the base layer of money, which used to be gold, now digital gold, Bitcoin, or whatever it is, it's going to be digital, in my opinion, at some point. Whether it's Bitcoin or something else, who knows? But Bitcoin has the first mover advantage, and it does what it's supposed to do fairly well. So it could be the digital version of gold for our generation, for our children's generation. So what do you think about the whole metaverse thing? Because right now, I think we saw the origin. Our generation is seeing the beginning of, it could flop, I don't know, but it could also be what everyone is living in 5-10 years, you know? So how do you
that is a huge topic. That is a huge topic. Metaverse for me is, first of all, scary, as it is a bit depressing. I'm not gonna lie. No. I understand how you say that everything is becoming digital, and I oppose this. Let's say this idea that I don't think that everything eventually will become digital. Definitely a very big percentage of what we own, but people need to have stuff, something they can see. You know, I like this thing because I can touch it. I know it's mine. But with digital assets, anything can be taken away from you at any point, because let's be honest, you never know if a dystopian future dictatorship will make you unable to access your own assets because you're not obedient enough. So that could be a thing.
It's not the whole wallet thing. Like, you can have your hardware wallets. It's actually, the argument is it protects against an authoritarian force taking your possessions.
But even if you take them out of the world, how are you going to spend them if the government won't allow you?
Yeah, you will have to kind of partake in the fiat system. Like, for example, we don't have a choice. We have to spend in the currency of the place we live in, but we can choose to store value in an asset class that is inaccessible by a third party. So that's the whole argument against, or I mean, for crypto in terms of people who are into crypto, and against crypto in terms of people who are just salivating to regulate crypto and to ban crypto, you know? So the whole hard wallet, no need for access to the internet kind of argument. Of course, you can move to a different country, plug it in and access it. That you can escape and then access it. They can't take it from you, is the point.
It's still a USB, you know, it's like a USB, I mean, device. You still have to have something on you and be able to leave from the country. If they really want to catch you and detain you, eventually you have no choice. What I want to say is that people need ownership. They need to have something, maybe a piece of land, house, in order to be safe, truly safe, because it's still, I believe it's still embedded in our DNA. We need to have ownership. Yes, all of these things with the metaverse and the digital assets sound incredible, and it's the future, and we're becoming too many, and not everyone can have land, and land becomes so expensive. But that's the whole point. Like when no one has land, those who have will have the upper hand. And in my opinion, you should never become too extreme, too acral. You should have a middle and a balance of things. Digital asset, real asset.
Yeah, I agree fully, and I think because I'm all for the whole, and I think it's inevitable that everything becomes digital, but I think the pendulum is going to swing all the way to the end before people realize, okay, we need to bring it back to the middle.
That's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. And metaverse is, for me, it's scary. People should live the real world. We have a certain amount of life of this world, and if you don't really truly experience it, and you live your whole life in your apartment in the safety, that's the worst thing. Also, safety. We keep hearing this word again and again. Maybe this is a good way to shift our topic a bit into safety. Everything has to be safe and comfortable, and I absolutely hate that. No, it doesn't.
But that's everything. I mean, that's sort of the core of how society is kind of regressing into this weird existence that like, people are getting, their mental health is going completely south, and the metaverse is just, and I feel like the whole COVID situation, like since the lockdowns and everything, what happened was the people who were already kind of partaking in that isolated sort of mentality, and they're getting more pleasure from just existing online behind a keyboard than interacting with people and all these things. They kind of just enjoyed the fact that everyone had to kind of subject themselves to it, you know, like they've kind of the world became what they're used to and what they prefer. So there's kind of this recoil to go back to normal. I feel like people are kind of holding on to also people who kind of built those bad habits during lockdown are finding it difficult to kind of reintegrate back into society. And there's kind of that hesitation to go back to normal. They're like, yeah, but it's better just working from home. It's better. It's just more convenient. And there's all these excuses to keep things the way they are. And
they have become institutionalized. They have become institutionalized, and it's the same problem. If you have watched the Shawshank Redemption, was at the end of the movie, that we learn, we adapt. Humans are extraordinarily adaptive beings, and as you mentioned before, that people have found pleasure into that. The whole idea, though, is not pleasure. You can find pleasure in many ways. You can drink a nice, let's say, alcoholic beverage, or I don't know. You may drink, or you may eat something, a very nice dinner. This is all pleasures. But we're not seeking pleasures. We're seeking happiness, right? Yeah. And this comes with difficulties, with coming out of your comfort zone to put yourself in danger and difficult situations, and you overcome them. And this will only bring happiness to you. Because if you're constantly in a zone that everything is safe, everything is stable, you become bored, and eventually you will become resentful. Jordan Peterson explained this quite well the other day, and I was listening to his podcast, and he's absolutely right about it.
Yeah, I think it's very scary, especially the whole metaverse thing and the land idea. Like, I never understood the point. Like, people are paying an exorbitant amount of money just to buy a plot of land in a digital meta space, right? And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I thought it was equally as silly as people buying pictures of poorly drawn animals on OpenSea as an NFT, you know? Like, I just didn't understand it. Like, okay, of course, there's an element of rarity to it. Maybe it's 1 of 3 or 1 of 5. But if there's 2 million collections of monkeys and donkeys and all kinds of animals, and they're just drawn by someone, and they have value because he chose to draw 5 instead of 6, you know? So it just makes no sense to me. But then people say the whole virtual work experience thing. So imagine if you could stream sporting events, or you could go into a clothing store just virtually instead of actually going. You could just do a 3D tour of the store, and that all of that existed in the meta layer. And you, in order to have that store, you need to buy plot in that area, and you have ownership of that location because of blockchain giving you absolute ownership of that location. And though that kind of life where you can kind of have your real life, but then you can also just go on to because I enjoy using things like Google Earth, you know, as much as I my dis technology and stuff from time to time, like dystopian future, all that stuff. But before I want to go somewhere, if I don't know where it is exactly, I'll go to Google Earth. I'll just go to the exact street that I want to go to. I will look around, and then I remember the place, and I walk to the place, and I'm never lost because I know exactly what it looks like. I know how the building looks like. So it's practical as well. So where do you draw that line?
That's a difficult question. Well, I think we are exploring the fields of our brain and our psychology that we have never thought that we have to deal with, right? These are all new things. And no matter how much we want to believe that, okay, this looks like, seems like a bad idea, I never know how someone who's brought into this world is going to easily adapt. Well, you mentioned before, and I want to answer that, but I had to let you finish, that people rush into buying these new lands, right? And I feel like this is also the psychology of I want to be first. People want to be first in something. They want to be there before the others. And especially when this, or if this becomes a thing and becomes big, they may profit a lot. Sure. It's a kind of risky behavior. And I think these people tend to be having these risky behaviors also. And it makes some sense in my mind, even though it's absolutely stupid right now, because I would never pay that much money for digital land.
Yeah.
Millions, right? Especially living next to a famous person just because they also have a digital land, but for them it's literally nothing. For other people are literally investing in this. Right now, it seems to be absurd. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know honestly how people in future may easily adapt to it and may grow and feel it's natural. This is normal. As I said before, our brain, the plasticity of our brain is extraordinary. And as doctors, we should know this already. How children, honestly, they truly adapt to this new technology like we never anticipated before.
Yep.
So yes, I believe this is a possibility. Even though I hold some, say, I'm a bit uneasy about the whole how natural this is. We are still primates. We still need to be in contact with nature. We need to use all our five senses that are there. I mean, more than five senses, but you know what I mean. All of the senses to come in contact with the colors of the nature, the smells, to expose ourselves to the external microbiota. To come in contact with animals. How is this going to really affect us if we isolate so much? We are social beings, and social beings means not just coming in contact virtually with another person, but being able to communicate face to face, see the body language, see the reactions, smells them when touch them. Touching means a lot. For some, it could be an intimate action. For others, it's a friendly action. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I think what has happened is technology, as much as it's needed and as much good as it's done, we just don't have a regulating authority. I'm not saying regulating in the sense let people do things and not let people do things, but in terms of pacing, because we need, like, human beings are very adaptive, but sometimes to our own detriment. Sometimes we need a period of time to adapt and kind of go through the mistakes and sort of adapt to that new normal before we move to the next normal. Because I think the internet and the whole social media thing was so quick, and now it's over. Like, the social media arc has happened and now it's gone. And now it's on to the next one. And social media has become a part of society. It's permanent now. It has been sealed in society. And now we're going to have to adapt to the next big wave of whatever, like crypto or whatever it is, right? Or metaverse or whatever it is. So that's the next thing we have to adapt to. And we're taking along with us all the inadequacies of adaptation that we've accumulated during that whole internet social media phase. We still haven't figured it out, but too late. We have to catch the next train, right? We need to go on to the next one. So I think it's too quick, and there's no way, like, I can't think of any way to regulate it in a sense that I want capitalism. I want people to innovate and create new things and make life easier, blah, blah, blah. But how do you slow things down a little bit so that people can kind of figure out how to cope with what exists and prepare for what is to come?
thought about this, and it's a very difficult question to answer. Um, my approach would be sticking a bit to the old teachings that people tend to forfeit very fast and think that, well, they're old, they don't apply anymore. In my opinion, I don't think that's the case. We're still humans, and these old teachings were based on us being primate humans. You know, having our pathos, as we say in Greek, our problems, our flaws. So simple things. Sometimes it's religion for some people, simplifying things, putting some rules. Even though I'm not so much of a religious person, but I think that it has its value. And people right now completely discarding completely the religion as is not a smart thing as they think. Religion has been around for thousands of years for a reason. And no, we're not suddenly that smart that we decided that it's useless. That's one thing. Second is the value of philosophy and ethics. And a simple thing would be the European philosophers, the German ones, the French ones, the Greek ones, that they said that things should be done in moderation and always like, not rush into things. Take them easy. Be careful of your choices. Keep in touch with nature and try to be balanced in whatever you do in life. So that would be my approach with things. Take a bit of this, take a bit of that, and be careful.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think one of my biggest sort of eye-opening revelations in the last 2 years, obviously the whole economic aspect of life, and when we're talking about the technicalities of life, but in terms of a deeper layer of life, one of the things that, because I was also radically kind of against the old ways. I thought the old ways were old because they were archaic and we've moved on, and now everything now is always better. The recency bias, what exists now is better than what existed before because we built on what existed before, right? That's kind of the mindset you're indoctrinated, so to speak. Like people kind of not explicitly but implicitly want you to believe this. But then what the old ways of life, it had its flaws and its benefits, but they had there was a long period of accumulation, so to speak,
Exactly,
where
exactly.
people made the mistakes, solved the mistakes, and it's kind of everything was so slow that they had time to perfect it. Now we have no time to perfect it. Of course, we can have a life where things are exactly as spiritual and philosophical as it was back in the day, where people can exist happily, but we need to kind of isolate 20, 30 years of no change. And then we kind of figure it out and then we move on to the next change, right? But we can't have that anymore. It's impossible. So all we have, the only sample space we have is the last time we had a period of isolation where things didn't develop so quickly. And we have to learn from that because we've kind of perfected that. And then everything went chaotic because, innovation just nukes the normal, right? So that's true. So I've kind of been trying to understand the whole human experience. That's why I really wanted to make it a point that this year, next year, for the future, I have more conversations with people just to see how they kind of see life, because we're all going through the same human experience on a deeper level, right? Obviously, we might have different philosophies, we might have different interests, blah blah blah. But in terms of a human experience, when you feel a certain way in life or when you're in a certain space, we all go through that at some point, and we have our different ways of kind of dealing with it, right? And it's really always interesting to see how other people have dealt with things or intend to deal with things when it happens. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to, and I always feel like it comes out better when you have a conversation with someone. And we don't have that anymore, especially with lockdown and stuff. It's really difficult. But now through Zoom, you can do it all over the world. I'm talking to people that I never spoke to in many years now, frequently. So yeah, I think, okay, wait, so I just wanted to ask you one more thing. Um, do you have when you think about your future, do you have a clear idea? Like, let's say 10, 20, what would you say is a successful life for you? Do you have you thought about that, or is it just go with the flow kind of thing?
No, I do have, but it's more general than you think. It's more based on the things we just mentioned, the philosophies we just mentioned. Balance. I want to have balance. I don't want to be too invested in my job, having no time for family, for friends. I want to be there in the major events happening in my life and not be lost in the different, I don't know, the things that come out in my life. I'm sure I'm going to be too busy with my specialty, my training, or whatever it's going to be at that point of time. I want to take time off from that and be there in the major events of my friends and my family. And at the same time, I don't see myself working too much forever. I want to eventually go back to Greece and maybe even an island and enjoy a bit more of nature.
Yeah.
Because I think this is also very important.
Yeah.
Be close to nature. Only if you grow up a bit more, you understand how important it is to enjoy the simple things, the sea, the sunrise, the sunset, be there with family, with friends, and enjoy sometimes some good wine, maybe, who knows, whatever you like. Yes, of course, it's balance. That's it.
So do you, if you just close your eyes and think of, okay, in 40 years, no, not 40 years, maybe 20 years time, what would you say? Okay, I'm where I wanted to be. Like, I'm where I want to be. Like, what is that for you when you're 55, 60?
It will be my own office, my own outpatient, let's say, small office. I'm going to be doing my job for 6 hours to 8 per day, no more than that. I won't have the need for that. I will enjoy reading science because I'm sure then it's going to be incredible. All of the new discoveries and all of the advancements we'll have integrated with the ever-growing rate of new technologies coming out. So I'm sure it's going to be incredible. And right now, all of the things we already study and seem to be also insane. The monoclonal antibodies and these mRNA vaccines, so you name it, right? In 20 plus years, going to be some even more insane things. So micro robots are getting inside the veins and the vessels and removing clot or cleaning, who knows, the coronary arteries. You never know what's going to be there. So I want to read, I want to know more. And one of the purpose of my life is knowledge. I want to know things. Maybe even by then, get to know another science. Who knows?
Yep.
While I'm doing things. Family, hopefully, and a quiet house, not in a big city, because I absolutely despise the big cities. I want to be closer to nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Do you have an idea of where you want to be, or is that more, it depends on the time?
Hopefully Greece.
Okay, back in Greece. Okay. Yeah, for me, I kind of have a vague idea because I like recently sort of made it a point to kind of plot out an idea of where I want to be, because otherwise you're kind of just roaming around and you're doing things, but there's no direction, right? So as of now, I just have no exact picture. Like, I don't see myself that clearly that much in the future, but for the next 10 years or so, 10, 15 years or so, I just have some goals in different aspects of life. Like, for example, financially, I have some goals. Fitness-wise, I have some goals. Family-wise, things like that. But for the immediate future, I want to be a fluent German speaker. I want to work as a doctor in Germany. And again, like you, I would like to have a private practice when I can after my specialization and everything, but maybe in endocrinology if that's possible. And of course, just stay up to date with the science and everything. But I also want to be somewhere away from the city, like where my children don't have to feel forced to kind of adapt to that pace. You know what I mean? Because I want them to have their space there. I want them to be able to just go out, kind of just breathe. If they just want to spend the day in nature, that's possible, you know? But I think one of the biggest decisions that we will have to make as parents is going to be the schooling decision. And I don't really know how to handle that, because again, who knows how it's going to be in that time. But I think that's going to be a really difficult decision to make, because right now, if you say you don't want to put your kid in school, that's kind of, it's a crime in places, right? You have to, I think in the Netherlands or maybe even in Germany, and you have to, if you're a German resident or if you're a German citizen, it's a crime. It's like child abuse if you don't put your kids through school. And the conventional schooling system is really waste of time, in my opinion.
Questionable. It is. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it has its pros, and one of them is the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
The children do need it, especially in the early years, the preschool.
Yeah.
The preschool for me is very, very important when it comes to a good quality preschool. And by the way, I'm saying that one more reason I'm saying that, because my mother has a kindergarten and
Yeah.
I've worked in a kindergarten and I know the importance of it. It's the simple stuff, separation from the parent, and this simple and yet complex process, how important it is for a child, and then the ability to become independent and then become part of a group.
Mhm.
These simple things have to happen at that age, between 2, 3, and 6, right?
Yeah.
All of this slowly, healthy,
Mhm.
and then everything will happen, because people assume that the most important thing is that by the age of 6 they know how to count, speak 2 languages. I don't know what to think. No, the most important is to be healthy in terms of being able to socialize, being independent, and part of a group, and know how to adapt,
Right.
right?
For sure.
And the rest we'll see. I think that's the most important thing. We observe things, and we gather knowledge and we find solutions for things, because we really don't know. That's the most important thing. People need to realize, no matter who you are or where you are or what you do, if you are the best doctor, you still know this one thing. You
Yeah.
have no idea about so many others. We don't know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's another reason you just need to keep having conversations with people. And because someone else has a different kind of arc and they've experienced a lot of different things. And then you've had a different arc. And when you meet, you're kind of that I think they mentioned it in the whole Jordan Peterson episode as well, right? Like when he was saying
I'm
dialogue.
listening to this right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the beginning. I'm sure you've heard.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson was talking about dialogue and how it's kind of redemptive in a sense. Like you,
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that, the redemption.
I found that really interesting. Yeah,
Because
so
it deconstructs some preconceptions you have about things, because the other person has different opinion, and if you hear this other opinion, may completely discard your own the already established ideas. Right?
yeah,
It's a very important thing.
and for the longest time, that's how ideas were developed. Ideas were exchanged. Of course, then text took over, and then many people can kind of have access to one person's idea, and then the reach was much more. But now with the internet, it's even more. But then there's also a lot of noise, and you never know what is right, what is wrong, blah blah blah. And it's less, and it kind of got diluted as the spread got wider. The actual interaction and the value of that interaction kind of got diluted. But yeah, anyway, man, like, yeah, we've been on for like an hour or something now. Don't want it to be too long. Yeah, I've asked you all the things that I kind of was curious about to ask you about. But for the most part, for this conversation, I wanted to kind of get like a touch base with the whole crypto thing, because I really am interested to see where our mindsets are right now and how it's going to be in like 2-3 years, like how wrong we were, how like immature we were in the market, our kind of growth curve. Basically, I think of these as like time capsules. You can always come back and look at it. And I think that's interesting, because 2 years are going to go by like that. And then you're like, wow, it's been 2 years.
3 years.
That happened.
Oh, Bitcoin will be approximately at 150, in my opinion.
$150,000 in 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a bit sad.
I'm going for it. I'm not holding back.
That alt season, but why did I just hope we get one more classical cycle of alts going crazy and then crashing. Just one more.
I want to see this video in 2 years, and I will have a clown suit by then. I'm going to wear.
Have you a professional clown in 2 years?
Professional clown. I'm not ashamed anymore. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Right, man. So what do you have planned for the rest of the evening?
Make some food. I don't know. Maybe finish the Jordan Peterson podcast, because I've left like 20 minutes on that. Just chill for a while, because my state examination consumed all of my energy, and for the past 2 days I've been just sleeping, and that's what I've been doing, sleeping and maybe seeing some friends, and that's it.
Cool, bro. Congrats again. That's a big one.
Thank you. All right. We should meet for a coffee. Just
yeah. Some real interaction, maybe once in
a once in a while. Not too much. Don't overdo. We have to adapt to Metaverse. Come on.
Right, bro. Good night, and thanks for the weird entertaining my weird request of recording a conversation.
I don't mind. It was actually interesting. All right. Have a great night.
All right. Good night. Bye.
Goodbye.